Hey MFam Tribe DWTS watchers, I'm back again with episode 2 recap, and we'll try to speed this one up a little bit more this time, so let's go. Okay, so first up we had Alex Earl, and this week she danced to the jive. I thought it was fun. It had a lot of good energy. She just needs to complete her sharper movements instead of kind of stopping midway through, but overall not too bad. Her scores were all 7s, and I think I would have to agree with the judges on that, so I'll definitely hold up the 7 paddle. Okay, so next we had my girl Danielle Fishel, as you can see with my Pod Meets World gear on today. This week she did the cha-cha, and she had really good movements. She did have a little bit of a flub at the end, but she caught it and she worked through it gracefully. She just needs to make her movements just a little bit more sharper and a little more fluidity to it. Otherwise, I think she did a really great job. Her scores were a 7, a 6, and a 6. And I think I would probably have to lean towards the 6 paddle this week for her. But overall, nice job, girl. Okay, next we had Andy Richter with the tango this week. His footwork was so much better this week, so much better. And then he just needs to work on his frame just a little bit more, but he was having so much fun, and you could tell it on his face and just in his overall body language. So his scores were a 6, a 5, and a 5, and just for his energy alone, I think I'd have to hold up the 6 paddle for him, but he did definitely improve from last week, so great job by Andy. Okay, up next we had Lauren Haregi. I think I said that right. I've listened to it multiple times. I can't tell you if I did pronounce it right, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is. But she did the foxtrot. She just flows so beautifully as a dancer, and she's so effortless out there. So that is just alone beautiful to watch. She just needs to work on a little bit more confidence in her frame and having that be a little bit better, but overall, really well done. All of her scores from the judges were a 7, and I'd have to agree I'd hold up my 7 paddle for her this week, but great job, Lauren. Next we had Jordan Childs with the jive, and oh goodness, that girl had some high energy. She was very confident this week and very strong in her movements, so definitely an improvement from last week. She ended up with the scores of an 8, 7, and a 7. I think I'd have to give her an 8 just because the confidence and that energy were so much better this week. So I'm gonna hold up the 8 paddle for her this week. Okay, next up we had Corey doing the cha-cha. He had a good performance and intensity with it. He's still having a little bit of the flat feet and kind of stomping his way through, and his timing was a little bit off with obviously what the judges said, so I absolutely agree with that. Down the line he had all 5s, and I think I'd have to hold him at that with the 5s, but overall not a terrible showing, but I'm holding up the 5 with the judges as well. Okay, next we had Jen Affleck with the quick step. She had a really great energy. She just needs to finish some of her movements and just glide across the floor just a little bit more, but overall a very great performance from her, and she definitely is getting very comfortable with being out on that dance floor. So all of her scores, we had an 8 and 2 7s. I think I'd have to hold up the 7 paddle for her this week, but not too bad. Okay, next we had Mr. Robert Irwin, and my goodness, do I look forward to watching him every time. He had such a precision with his tango. It was just so sharp and so great. He definitely had that leading man stance, and his frame was just absolutely excellent. So overall, such a great job. His scores were an 8, a 7, and a 7, and I'd have to hold up that 8 because that was a very intense tango. So great job by Robert and Whitney this week. Okay, next we had Elaine Hendricks dancing to Mickey and doing the jive, and oh my goodness, was it just so cute. And I love her. She's so much fun. She just needs to have a little bit more sharpness, but I mean, she's definitely on the right track. But overall, such a great performance, and it was so fun to watch. Her scores were 3 7s down the line. I don't know, I'd have to buck the judges a little bit and maybe go towards an 8. It was just such a great performance. So well done, Elaine. Okay, next up we had Baron and Brittany, and they did the samba, so a little Latin there. There was some smoothness to the performance this week, which I think was an improvement from last week. And you could see a little bit more confidence on him, but he did have a little bit of a fumble, and then he did kind of lose it a little bit after that, which the judges did end up noticing. So I think if that wouldn't have happened, maybe he might have done a little bit better, but it can really throw you off once you kind of fumble a little bit. But all of his scores from the judges this week were 6s, and I'd probably have to hold up the same. So 6 paddle for Baron as well from me. Okay, next we had Whitney Levitt, one of the Mormon wives, and oh my goodness, were her hip movements on point. She had some really great hip work, and her endings were so super sharp, and she attacked it like crazy. So very well done by her. She had a 7, a 7, and an 8, and I definitely would be leaning towards the 8 paddle with Bruno. So well done, Whitney and Mark. Okay, next up we had Hilaria doing the tango, and she has such a great presence when she's out on that dance floor. So she is doing such an excellent job, and she really does present herself as a dancer. So you can definitely tell she enjoys being out there and absolutely loving it. She had such a beautiful frame, and her lines are just incredible. So well done, Hilaria. Her scores were all 7s, and I think I'd have to agree. So I'm going to stick with the judges on this and go with the 7 paddle for her this week, but well done. Okay, second to last, we had Mr. Dylan Efron, and he did the samba, and he's another one that he can move those hips. That's for darn sure. He just needs to extend his lines a little bit more and have just a bit more of attack with those movements. But overall, not too bad a showing. I just love watching him and Danny. I think they're such a good pairing for sure. But he had a 7, a 6, and a 7 for his scores. I think I'm gonna have to go towards the 7 paddle just because there needs to be a little bit more power and a little bit more aggression. So overall though, not too shabby of a job. So good job, Dylan. Okay, and then next and last, we have Mr. Scott Hoying from Pentatonics, dancing to Blue, Daba Dee Daba Die. Love the song. I absolutely love the song. Of course, it takes me way back to, you know, my teen years, but I thought his performance was great. He still did seem a little bit nervous, and his extensions do need to be bigger, like the judges said. He is such a tall and large guy. He extends those lines, and it's just gonna look so much better. But him and Riley got 3 6s down the line, and I would agree with the judges. So I would definitely be throwing up the 6 paddle as well. So, but not too bad. Overall, really good job. And now for the dreaded part that comes with the competition. But this week was a double whammy. So there were 2 of them eliminated. And if you haven't watched it yet, get ready because I'm about to spoil it in 3, 2, 1. So the ones that were eliminated this week were Corey and Jenna, and Baron and Brittany. I don't know, this is a tough one. I mean, you never want to see anybody go, but it has to happen at some point. But I do feel Corey was a correct choice on that one. He tried so hard, and he really did not do too bad of a job. So nothing to hang our head about with that, for sure. And then Baron, I thought maybe there would be some room for improvement, so I would have maybe liked to seen him just a little bit more. I don't know who else I would have eliminated though, but I would have to say that these are 2 agreements that I would have. One solid agreement, the other one I'm a little wavering on. So but those are eliminated stars for week 2. So unfortunately, that's the bad part of the competition side, but a really overall great show, and I can't wait to see what week 3 brings along, and we will see who we also lose next week. The competition is so good, so it's just going to be super hard the whole entire way through, whoever ends up going each week. But we shall see what happens. So thanks for tuning in again, and I will see you for episode 3's recap next week. Bye.